Hey, it's Kelsey with Goshen Lights here. I am so excited to talk to you today about preschool. I love preschool and I have found preschool to be it's just a gift from God, and I have loved doing my preschool years with all of my children. I have 4 children ages 6 and under, and my youngest just turned 3 and is so excited to start preschool that I actually got her preschool books. So we're going to go into it. I'm going to tell you a little bit of how I started and how I started thinking about it, and then all of the things I've learned since starting and what I would advise to anybody starting out in preschool. So Homeschooling Preschool is a gift and it is so easy in some ways it's challenging, but I hope that this video will be an encouragement to you and will help you get started in your homeschool journey. Before I ever started homeschooling, someone gave me this set, not this exact one because I used the one that they gave me, but this set of Rod and Staff ABC series workbooks. It is just a basic Christian base, I think they're Mennonite, and it covers many basics. And I got these workbooks and I think I probably just put them away. My son at the time was probably younger than 3, and I just didn't know what we were gonna do or how we were gonna start. And we were just doing, our daily life as Christians. That was what we were doing. We weren't doing school, but she gave me these and I thought, well, maybe I'll use those. And I've got to say, video is not sponsored. I don't think that they would sponsor videos, this particular company, but what they do is just very basic workbooks. And they introduce the letters, the numbers, the sounds, and colors, and any kind of preschool needs. And so those are what we ended up using, and we have loved them. We've used them for all 4 of our children. So we're starting to use them with our youngest children. But we have really high academic goals. We want a rigorous education. We want to exceed the standards of any public school that they could possibly go to. And we want them to have a robust education and a Christian one. And we found that those preschool books do successfully prepare them for the kind of math that we wanted them to go into, which was art of problem solving, the math Olympiad people. And so I don't see why anybody who has those similar goals wouldn't find this particular set to be useful. But all formal education aside, like I said, we didn't start right away in the workbook. Instead, what we did was just our regular life. And my eldest was turning 3 in 2020, okay? And so I started looking online for what do people do in preschool? And of course, in 2020, what happened? All of these schools went online. And so I was looking into Montessori, I was looking into these hands-on kind of non-traditional means of learning. And I found a Montessori school online. And I started watching what they were doing in their preschool online. And I was just amazed at how easy it was. They did a morning time, they did some read alouds, they did some basic phonics introductions to letters and sounds, and they did some arts and crafts. And that was their daily lesson. And I was like, wow, anybody could do that. Any mom can do that. I hope that is an encouragement to you. And that's what really, I think, started me saying, well, let's just do it. Let's get started. Let's preschool. Those workbooks have met all of our needs, and I will do a flip through of them at the end. But along the way, I've learned some things about preschool, and I'm sure any homeschool preschool video that you find is going to have sort of similar takeaways, probably, because I think that moms, as we work with each kid, we realize that maybe some of the pressure that we're putting on ourselves or on our children isn't necessary. And we find that there's actually a lot of value in just living life with your kid. And so if you're just starting out homeschooling preschool research or homeschooling preschool yourself, this video will be super valuable, ground you and root you in what actually matters in your preschool, and to have a happy preschool experience. So please subscribe if you get any value from this video, and I would love to talk to you in the comments. What did you do for preschool, or what are you thinking? Do you have questions or ideas that you're shooting around in your head? So talk to me in the comments, subscribe, and I would really appreciate it, just to let me know that I should keep making videos knows that this is helping somebody. Homeschool Preschool is really an extension of just home, because although you do start to add in some formal instruction in letters and writing and numbers and counting, a lot of what your children are learning is your own values and your own way of life. And so without ever actually explicitly teaching your children any of those things, you are implicitly sort of whetting their palate for the kind of home life and homeschool experience that they're going to have. So whatever your vision is and your values, you're going to be disseminating that information to them through your everyday life with them. And so if you want to be more intentional about what values and what vision you're giving your kids at this age, now is the time to really start thinking about that vision and about those values and how to put them in your preschool. So for instance, if one of your values is you want them to love learning and love reading, then you're going to want to bring in a lot of books, any kind of book that they enjoy. You just want to think joy, joy, joy about all the books that are available to them. And I know we're in an age where people just love, they're just eating up STEM and science. And so if that is one of your values, is you want a very STEMmy kind of homeschool, then you can get all of those books that really introduce your kids to principles of science at their level, and enjoy picking out all those books to read to your kids. Now, I'm a Christian. Our values are strongly biblical, and so our values that we're putting around in the books that we read and the kinds of materials and kind of environment that we introduce our kids to is like very heavily scripturally based, right? So we've got all the Bible stories and a lot of actual scripture around, and the music is also instilling those values. So whatever you're valuing that you want your children to value, that is what you want to put around in your house, especially in terms of the books you read, the kind of music you listen to, the kinds of activities you do. Whatever it is that you actually value is going to come out to your children, and that's going to lay the groundwork for their education in the sense that it's going to shape how they think about life in general. So the first thing in preschool is just the materials that you select. Are they representing your vision for what you want your homeschool to be? And are they just the age appropriate version of all of your values and your vision? A lot of homeschoolers, one of the things that they value a lot is great literature and the fine arts and fine music. And so those kinds of values can clearly come through in your preschool. You don't have to buy a curriculum for it. You just have to, go to the library or find online the music and the art that will sort of introduce your children and like whet their palate for that sort of thing. It's kind of like you're shaping their tastes at this point. Now, they all have their own personality and their own likes and dislikes, and surely it's going to diverge from yours at some point in some way. But here you can just give them the opportunity to really relish in the things that you relish and to enjoy the things that you enjoy as a family. So it would help to think about where you want to go in your homeschool. What kinds of values do you want to instill? And just to assess your environment of like, what books are you getting? What kinds of music are you listening to? Is it conveying those values to your preschooler? Now, what does this have to do with preschool? Well, really, because the instruction that they actually need is just so minimal. So if you're talking about laying the groundwork for future education, it's really just at this point, it's just introducing them to those values through your everyday life. And the first thing about preschool is like laying that groundwork of your values and bringing in the joy and the love of learning in everyday life and through age-appropriate activities. The second part is doing certain kinds of activities that will help the muscles in their hands and their attention spans, so that when they actually go to do more difficult work, like slightly more difficult work in kindergarten and first grade, that they have an attention for it. So we're gonna think about building physical and mental stamina in preschool. So that means not going all in with them, like trying to do 45 minutes of preschool a day if they're not interested in doing it, but instead to start very incrementally. So like right now, he just turned 4, my 4-year-old, he's not super interested in doing a whole page of his preschool book. So what I do is just introduce him to like a line of letter writing, and I let him choose which pages he wants to do if he wants to continue. And oftentimes he will want to continue, just not on that page. And I have learned to like go with the flow of what your child is wanting to do, and not to push too hard to make them sit still for too long if that's not where they're at. And what you can do is build over time. Probably eventually you're going going to just know in your mommy heart that it's time to just sit down and do the whole page. Some people are sort of against doing any kind of handwriting in preschool, and I get that. I definitely have some slower writers among my children. So what you want to do instead is, as you introduce what the letters and numbers look like and the strokes that you have to make to write them, to incorporate lots of activities that strengthen their hands. Like water play is good, sand, Play-Doh, dot markers, any kind of coloring. All together, you're building the value groundwork, and then you're also building the physical and mental groundwork for later learning. In the same vein, you can do other things to strengthen their attention span, working on reading a whole book together. Try to avoid the kinds of screen time that will allow them to like pick up something and start and then turn off, and pick up and start and turn off, and just too much screen time trains their brain to not hold attention. And so you want to do activities that are going to like consume their interest and where they don't have the ability to just like click off, right? So I'm specifically thinking about Khan Academy. I don't know if it's still this way or if they have features where you can like turn it off. Maybe somebody could tell me. But if you're trying to use Khan Academy in your homeschool preschool, I know my preschoolers, they did, like when they actually stayed on learning things, they did learn some things, but they were able to just like get bored and then click off and start something else. And I just thought that was not, it didn't seem to be good for their attention. One of the best things about homeschooling is the ability to explore and get creative and like invent things on your own as a child. And one of the integral parts of our homeschool, especially in those younger years, has been loose parts. The children have the ability to like put together whatever they want with a bunch of loose parts. Right now, my basement is a sea of loose parts that I need to like try to get under control. Every time I try to go down there and I want to pick up, they're like, no, I need that. And to me, it looks like garbage or something like totally useless or broken, but those loose parts are a blank slate for the children to piece together things however they want and to play however they want with the things that they have. We also have always incorporated lots of independent learning things. Shape puzzles and magnet tiles. Connects have been a huge hit in our house. I know my eldest was not super interested in writing down things. All my other kids have been really interested in writing and letters on their own before we started schooling. But my eldest wasn't into that. He was into puzzles, and he could solve what seemed to me like advanced puzzles. And still, we love puzzles in our house, and just anything like that. Play a lot in as many ways as possible. So let's talk about preschool knowledge. The people who study reading and how people learn how to read and what are the most effective ways of reading, they have found that one of the most crucial aspects of reading comprehension is knowledge. What do you already know? And so what is the knowledge that a preschooler has to know? And I will say that no workbook is going to replace just experience. The experience of life is what's going to be the best way to convey knowledge to your kids. So just as much as possible, talking to them about what you're experiencing, and this will help too with the first step of like groundwork in your values. So like as you're driving the car, you notice that the stoplight is red and the stop sign is red, and you can talk about what it is like to drive, and you can talk about the things that you see. And if you're washing the dishes, you can talk about the water, you can talk about the way it sounds, you can talk about the shapes of the dishes, you can do all kinds of things. Like everything that you do in your life, just try to bring them along with you and explain it and talk to your kids while you're doing it. And all of that conversation and all of that interaction is going to be so good for them, but also just the experiential knowledge that they will gain from like being out in the world and with you and doing life together. That is just extremely valuable for not just preschool, but all of their early years of education. So get outside as much as possible, experience life out of doors, and experience the life indoors with a lot of communication. And that kind of experience is just really going to bless your kids and give them the knowledge that they need. All of my children have cooked with me and cleaned with me and walked alongside me in the woods, and we talk a lot as we drive, and we just spend our lives in communion together. And there's no workbook that can replace real life experience. There's just not. But when it comes to actual formal knowledge and instruction, you're going to want to teach the shapes, you're going to want to teach colors, you're going to want to teach basically like what the letters look like, that there are letters and that there are different sounds to hear at different times and different words. You're going to want to introduce them to writing lines. If you want, you can introduce them to the calendar, the days of the week, the months, the date. You can introduce them to the weather, any kind of value-based knowledge that you want them to know at this time. You want to read lots of books and enjoy lots of music together and any kind of rhymes that you can do. We've really enjoyed children's nonfiction books in general, and also the Christian Mother Goose book. We've also enjoyed the classics like The Very Hungry Caterpillar and Brown Bear, and pretty much anything Eric Carle. There are some really good book lists out there for any age range. On Amplify Online, they have a book list, and I have really enjoyed their recommendations. I've also enjoyed the recommendations from Simply Charlotte Mason. Beautiful Feet Books has some good ones. So in their curriculum list, there's a list of books, and you can go there for some inspiration. But also my children have just really enjoyed going to the library and picking out their own books. And that's actually kind of new for us. We just started going to the library like last year. Just as many books as possible about as many topics as possible. And also nursery rhymes and songs and the kind of knowledge that you're trying to convey through those songs and through the words and through the books is that every word has letters in it that make sounds, and that those sounds are actually distinct, and that you can put together words by putting together the sounds. So basically it's an introduction to phonics. So what's actually needed is you've got to find some plan to introduce the colors, the letters, the ABCs, how to distinguish shapes from each other. The easiest way to convey all that knowledge is, one is life, of course. Two is books, reading lots of books together and talking about words and language and numbers just in everyday life. And some sort of simple, straightforward, formal curriculum helps because it's going to provide some actual practice doing school. What do you need? You need time. You need to spend time with your kids. You need to spend the time talking to them. You need to take the extra effort to include them in whatever it is that you're doing, and just enjoy your time with them. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a little bit of patience because they may not want to do what you want to do the way you want to do it. And so you're going to have to make lots of those challenging decisions about when to push and when to pull back and when to encourage and when to redirect, and all of those fun mommy discernment times. It's going to take some of that patience, but it is well worth the effort, and you know your kids so well. You've been with them this long, and you're going to do great just being with them and paying attention and seeing where are they at, and helping them to learn, which is the other thing that you need, is just a heart. You need a heart for your kids to love them, to put them first in a way to consider their needs, and to give them this gift of your time and attention to teach them at this age. You're also going to need just a basic introduction to letters, to numbers, and if your kids need explicit help on learning their colors and shapes, then those sorts of things too. There are lots of little things that are added in the workbooks too that are useful, like how to discern different shapes and different sounds and some sort of basic phonics awareness. If you want, you can do calendar time. Give them lots of hands-on structured play or hands-on unstructured play. So lots of things that they can play with and do with their hands. And of course, lots and lots and lots of books. Just joy, joy, joy in books. Your homeschool is going to be full of books, and you might as well start now. And also any value-based resources and units. You know, we spend a huge amount of time every day with our youngest and with our oldest together in the Word of God. It has been so valuable to just teach them the Word of God from the womb, really. It has also helped them to hear and understand pretty much anything and everything that we read, period. Because if your values are based on a book and you're reading that book all the time, then it's pretty good literacy instruction. But just whatever value-based knowledge you need to convey it to them at their age level. Okay, so I'm gonna do a flip through of this curriculum, or of these workbooks, and talk a little bit about them. I'll leave the links in the description below for Amplify Online, which is free, and for these workbooks, which are very low cost. They're like around $40, I think. Let's turn the camera around and look at the workbooks that we use. Hi. So this is Rod and Staff's Adventures with Books series, or ABC series, and we have in our homeschool just gone through A, B, C, D, E, and F, and also their M for my writing. We've gone through them. They have other letters, but we found them to be like busy work essentially past this level. They start getting to be busy work sort of at F, but we have really enjoyed them. All of my kids learned their colors through this. So there's a basic introduction to lines, to line drawing, cutting and pasting. And if your kids aren't ready for it, for all of the activities yet, like look, she didn't really color that that like she's supposed to. These books are so cheap, you could buy another one when they're ready to actually do it correctly, or you can just skip those parts or do them a different way. They learn what's red, they learn how to trace and color, and you can decide how strict you want to be with how they color. They're learning discernment. They're learning discerning the different colors, the different shapes. They learn the difference between left and right. This has always been a challenging one for all of my kids. They've had a challenge on this particular page. They learn more cut and paste. You're going to have to help them with that one, probably. Big, bigger, biggest, left and right. They're learning how to write. It's just super basic. And this one has a Bible story in the middle. And then at the end is a little test. This one comes with a book that I didn't bring in here, but it's a little Bible story book. I end up just reading straight from the Bible. There's my little students now, sword fighting out there. Or something. Okay. So this is just a super basic Bible story coloring book. We have loved it. It goes all the way from Genesis to Revelation, our happy home in heaven. And this has been a great resource for teaching Bible. We highly value math in our homeschool, so this is the kicker for us, is the fact that this little counting workbook has prepared them for their kindergarten math, which has prepared them for Beast Academy. So super simple, learning how to count, learning how to write the numbers. My third son, when we were doing this, he could not write these numbers yet. I just did them anyway and skipped that part, and we will go back and learn how to write them later because his mind was working faster than his fingers. They tell you to supplement with this, and that's what I would say, is that like their education it's not if they can do the workbook, it's if they can do the material. So this was fun. This counting book has been more than enough. Do It Carefully is a review. More lines, more discernment. And then this one actually starts introducing them to recognizing different words and being able to see the order of the letters and actually writing the letters. Everywhere We Go is more introducing letters and discernment and writing. Counting, again, a review. Finding the answers gets a little interesting. It is a lot of cut and paste of putting things in order. And having to think. Things like this helped us to realize that we needed some more life experience instead of just the workbook, because like you're not going to know what a fishing rod is if you've never been fishing, for instance. So this one's a little bit different, but my kids liked it and they still like looking at it. So that is the ABC series, and I would highly recommend it for anyone. So that wraps it up for preschool. I hope that this helped you. I hope it helps you make a good decision for what workbook to use. Really, you could get anything that introduces the shapes, letters, and numbers, and you'll be just fine as long as you spend lots and lots of time together with your precious little child. You can do this, and it is so much fun and so enjoyable. Just go for it. You don't have to wait any longer. Just start teaching them now with what you have, and it's going to be great. I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or just what curriculum did you use for your preschool. All right, bye.